So the nice part about this is when it comes to nurturing, and nurturing not only an ecosystem, but the different ecological communities, but also people, because we're part of that ecosystem. I move through the environment, the acreage, the properties and the neighbors that we have here. And as I move through, I just take tools with me that allows me to touch base, spot treat, work with the plants, cut that plant off earlier, terminate its growth before it goes into seed and spreads thousands of little friends everywhere that I have to deal with. So by me being out, there's an old saying, there's no greater fertilizer for the garden than the gardener's shadow. That makes sense, but it's different than a gardener's shadow as in a micromanaging, overworking. It's the gardener's shadow of looking around and seeing what's happening and notice that the strawberry came in and then, oh, look here, this is what's going on with that, and some shiitake buttons are popping over here, but look over here, this area, this has changed. And so by having that awareness and looking for those changes or the patterns, it really helps me to be comfortable and not overwork, not micromanage, to realize that it's April. It's going to be a long, beautiful season. But if I overwork it now, it's really hard to reset. And sometimes it's impossible and you got to wait till next year to start over, just because it's spring. So whenever I go out with the tools that I have available to me, and sometimes it's literally just a pocket knife or a fingernail or a boot, work on something. Every single one of those is always, how can I make it a better, healthier place today that will lead to those benefits lasting to tomorrow and the next day and forever? Because that also decreases the amount of work I have to do. If in the process of cleaning this one area, I take it and I move it to this other area, and then that's actually where I want to keep it, where it's going to do benefit and feed that ecosystem, the reality is I've done less work but more benefit. And so by having that perspective as I move through the entirety of the property, I can pace myself as I move around it. And when I do that, I'm able to go, okay, I'm going to actually grab this here, but I'm going to take it over there, but in this process, I'm going to use it 10 different ways and get to the point where I actually need to use this tool. And so the flow is definitely different. I don't zigzag, but I wander, moving and meandering and working through the ecosystem. My paths are in different ways, which allows me to actually shape the environment, how the water flows. I don't want just paths straight up and down. We've got a blowout area on the backside over here, because the neighbor's property has that where it's just a channel cut that fills with water and plows through. I'm trying to move the water back and forth through the ecosystem so that it slows the water down and has a chance to be absorbed. And so my movements through the entirety of the property, and I try throughout my entirety of my life, is really based on leaving it nicer than I found it, but having the bigger picture when it's connected to that, and not just killing something for the short-term benefit of it not being there anymore, but the long-term benefits of it not being there makes everything healthier. And that's why I don't use poisons or pesticides. I'd rather go out there and cut its root and nurture the rest of the ecosystem. I think time is where the confusion is, because the weed eater that I have, which on a different time we'll do later. The weed eater, the protective gear, the fuel, the line, the trimmer, all that costs money. How do I earn that money? I have to go out and use my time at this profession. The government takes a chunk of that. I then go spend it, and I have to use it back and forth, back and forth. Plus the time it takes me to suit up, go to the store, get some fuel, come back, put it in the gas tank, mix it with oil because it's a type of motor, go through this whole process. It runs out of string, put more string in it, get back, versus this will take you a little longer, but you save a ton of time. I don't have to go to the gym, half hour to the gym, hour and a half at the gym, half hour at home, right? All of these layers is my perception of time. It's the entirety of my time, not just the 5 minutes or the hour, but I've got a couple more decades at least, and how do I want to use that and the life I want to live through that time. And so it does take longer, but I'm doing much more in the same amount of time. So if it's 60 seconds, I try to do 60 seconds worth of distance run out of it versus, only 30. So it's starting to work out.
Compound interest.
Exponential growth, right?
Yeah.
We can go, like I'm doing less right now in the garden because all those worms that are eating and pooping are doing their job.